Alright, all YouTube reloaders and enthusiasts, I got this Lee turret press and I really like it. So many things about it. And I got the auto disc powder measure, which I really like. I like the idea of it. It's a great idea. There's a few things that can be way improved on it. Anybody that's got it can probably tell you this already. First thing I noticed when I took it out of the box is I'm like, in order to change these discs, you got to get under here and you got to take out screws with a screwdriver. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me! You got to handle this thing, you know, and take out these screws. Just to me, doesn't make any sense. There's got to be a better way. I thought, why not have like their pro version of this? Has little brass nuts and screws. Really handy stuff. I'm going to tell you a couple of things in this video what you can do to improve it from this straight wood type screw, or sheet metal screw I guess it is. First of all, you want to lubricate this styrene plastic part right in there. I lubricated it with nothing more than paraffin wax, which I have mixed with automatic transmission fluid. I melted the paraffin, 50-50 mixture. This makes an excellent case sizing lube, and it works really well as a lubricant in here. The next thing I did was I took the screws that it came with, and I brazed on, actually silver soldered. Silver solder, what is it? It melts at 1250 degrees. It's very thin wire. It's not like regular soft solder. It's silver solder, so it's very hard. It's like brazing rod, except it's a very small diameter. So I took these hex head screws that have got a nice knurl on them. I put it in a lathe, each part in the tailstock and then the headstock, put the flux on, and brazed away. And you just braze it with MAP gas or acetylene. Really simple stuff. If you've never done it, you might want to take it to your favorite band instrument repair technician. That's what I do, and they're well versed at this. And maybe you can get somebody to do it for little or nothing. I wouldn't count on it. Anyway, you braze those together, and guess what? This little powder measure then becomes really easy to reset and adjust. Super quick, super easy, and these longer screws completely stay out of the way. If you got your powder in here and you want to go and change the disc, it's very simple. You just turn the whole head, dump your powder, and remove one screw completely, set it down, and change your disc. This one we're just going to rotate it to a new cavity. Tighten this one side up, tighten the next side up, and you're good to go. It's fully functional and ready to go. You can test the freedom of movement that way. The next thing I'm going to show you how to do is how to tighten the tolerance between your auto disc and the powder hopper. This is important for a couple of reasons. I found that when using Accurate number 5, I had a real problem with leakage on this, and I've heard of other people having leakage issues with this. I'm going to show you a trick that is unbelievable, and you're going to thank me. This is really cool, and it will make this 99.5% leak-free. I'm not talking about accidental spillages, which will happen to everybody, but this area will leak no longer. First of all, I used the powder measure with double-stacked discs and rifle powder, such as Varget, Hodgdon 322, BLC2, and some others, and they all measured fine. Wasn't a whole lot of leakage. I used Bullseye, not a whole lot of leakage, maybe just a tiny bit. Nitro 100 and tight group. None of those were really much of a problem. Accurate number 5, this stuff is like so fine, so much of a powder, that this was leaking like a sieve. And in fact, it jammed up this. When attempting to run a charge, it would literally, on the return stroke, freeze it right up here. The gap between the auto disc and the powder hopper needed to be closed down tighter. You don't want to get this too tight, then you've got real problems and your spring tension will not be enough to cycle this back and forth. So here's what I did. You're going to love this. This area up here, right along here and here, where the powder hopper meets this housing, needs to be planed down a few thousandths of an inch. Before I did it, I could easily wedge a piece of regular 3/1000 inch thick notebook paper. I could wedge it in between there. So I knew in order to use accurate number 5 in this, I needed to close that gap down. So here's what I did. You can do this however you want. I'm sure you're creative enough to figure it out. I used a flat tone hole file, which a saxophone technician would have. I do brass instrument repair, so I have access to a flat tone hole file. It's about 1.5 inches wide. It's a very fine cut. It's a double diamond shaped cut. You're not going to find those anywhere. You can barely find them if you're a repair technician. And they're expensive. This, you can use just a smooth mill file. You want to clamp this in a vise very carefully using leather on either side, and then you're going to draw file this. Strokes this way. If you don't have access to that, you can take this and put sandpaper, such as 320 grit, taped down to a very flat, hard surface, such as a countertop or piece of glass. Then you can run this over the sandpaper a few times. Clean off the dust, put your disc back in, put your hopper on, and test the fit. You'll notice that this gap will start to tighten up. This will tighten up. You don't want to get it too tight, because remember, we want to have these screws completely secure and still allow this freedom of movement to occur. Okay? When I got done, I was able to bring the tolerance down, because there needs to be some play in there. I was able to bring that down to 1/1000th of an inch clearance between the powder hopper and the disc. Okay? How did I check that? I have a piece of shim stock that's 1/1000th inch thick, and I could slide it in there, but it was tight. So we're really talking about between 5/10,000ths and 1/1000th of an inch. Works slick. No leakage on number 5. It moves freely in and out. Not a problem at all. You're going to love that.